Coming up in the news, the nation's leader announcing relaxed measures on COVID-19 restrictions. And a day of mourning turning into a day of embarrassment for the bereaved family. Hear why they say they are owed an apology. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shoshana Wolf-Farkas, and as always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news this evening, the nation's leader, Prime Minister Philip Davis, as part of the mid-year budget communication, announcing relaxed measures as it relates to COVID-19 restrictions. Among the measures are reduced testing requirements for 5-day travel, salon and barber shops operating at 50% capacity, and cruise ships no longer having to present a passenger and crew manifest to disclose vaccination status. Good news for the country as COVID-19 numbers are the lowest it has been in months. Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis says that with the vastly reduced number of COVID-19 cases comes these changes.
Cruise ships no longer need to present a passenger and crew manifest disclosing vaccination status. We have reduced testing requirements for day 5 post-travel. Residential care establishments are now able to set their own parameters for visitors. Salons, barbershops, and spas will now be allowed to operate at 50% of seating capacity. Restrictions regarding recitals, regattas, in-person conferences, seminars, or workshops, and drive-through cookouts will be relaxed.
And he adds that these events will no longer require approval by the advisory committee.
Restrictions surrounding large events will also be eased. The Ministry of Health will provide more comprehensive details regarding the measures. Madam Speaker, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we said repeatedly in opposition that the country would not be able to manage the economic crisis until we were effectively managing the health crisis. Our administration has taken a very different approach than the previous one. We immediately ended the curfew because the data to justify it just didn't exist. Businesses were able to open for longer hours. This had a significant impact for certain sectors of our economy, as well as restoring important civil liberties to our people.
The nation's chief says his government has ended the emergency orders, brought back decision-making to a deliberative representative body, and will continue to address the global pandemic based on facts.
We have and are continuing to distribute medical-grade masks, hundreds of thousands. Both of these are important tools in limiting COVID transmissions. We hired more nurses to help us prepare for the crisis. By rationalizing the travel sector requirements and eliminating the travel health visa for Bahamians, obstacles to international and domestic tourism were removed. By working closely with health professionals and relying on scientific advice, we've been able to safely reopen schools. And by maximizing all available resources to repair and refurbish those school buildings, which had fallen into a terrible state of repair, we were able to open schools without delay.
Prime Minister Davis says within 6 months since coming to office, there has been much progress, and the proof is in the economy as it continues to show signs of recovery. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic and the effects of Hurricane Dorian, Member of Parliament from North Abaco, Kirk Cornish, says business owners in Abaco remain optimistic and resilient. Recently, the Bahamas Development Bank traveled to the island to promote access to funding.
Heart lies within commerce. I believe that the hurricane presented some new ideas of business, and they're developing and growing out of it. Yes, Abaco people, they're still very active, involved in business, and I believe we're going to see bigger and better businesses as a result of the rebuilding process. And a business is thriving in Abaco.
Cornish says that Hurricane Dorian has also provided a number of opportunities for entrepreneurs.
We have the construction is doing very well. The food industry, it's thriving because the rebuilding process creates some needs, and persons are capitalizing on those needs.
In other news, it is Police Month, and the Royal Bahamas Police Force here on Grand Bahama continues to commemorate the month with a number of community initiatives. The police force conducting a walkabout today, canvassing several communities and meeting with residents to hear their concerns. Assistant Commissioner of Police and Officer in charge of the Northern Bahamas, Theophilus Cunningham.
Community policing and these walkabouts were intended to build trust, confidence, and good morals between the police and the communities. This is a problem-solving method once we partnership and work hand in hand with our community partners. It is important that we partnership with the community in order to prevent crime and violence from taking place in the society at large. This will definitely help us in reducing the fear of crime, building public's trust, and creating safer communities.
Now, ACP Cunningham says proper lighting and loud music were among other concerns, and he noted that neighborhood watch groups are playing an important role in helping the RBPF to keep communities safe.
The partnership has really assisted us greatly in our crime fighting mechanisms and our crime fighting methods. It has also helped us to not to police them in isolation, but by their consent and not by force.
Now, ACP Cunningham also thanking the public for their continued support. In other news, a community correctional and training organization is providing a moral recognition therapy training for persons in the community. The LEAD Institute builds pathways from recovery to leadership within the at-risk and offender communities. President and CEO Troy Clark says he is excited for this training, as this is one of the leading cognizant behavioral treatment programs for the offender and at-risk population.
This certification training that we are now hosting for stakeholders on the island of Grand Bahama will be or equip those individuals with the know-how to actually deal with mental health, deal with behavioral health, and deal with individuals, helping them to make better life decisions. This 4-day training is a certification out of Germantown, Tennessee, and we are conducting the training on behalf of Correctional Counseling Incorporated out of Germantown, Tennessee. And what it is, it's a manual-based training where CCI certified instructor, who is myself for this region, will be imparting the information with the participants who will have what we call 4 days of intense lecture and role play and homework-based programming.
I believe that this training is beneficial for anybody in our community who loves people, who deals with persons who are at risk, especially in the youth and offender population, as Mr. Clark mentioned. And I would also encourage our local churches to be a part of this as well. Grand Bahama has been through so much, as Mr. Clark stated, especially the younger population. A lot of times people focus on what happens to the adults, and not recognizing that the young people are our future. So looking at them, seeing what trauma they've been through, and trying to help them in that way through moral recognition therapy, I think Grand Bahama can come a long way because we're assisting our youth.
Now, for anyone who wants to sign up, they can visit www.leadinstitute.org, or you can call 602-1768 for more information. Switching gears now, a day of mourning turning into a day of embarrassment for a bereaved family who says their way of honoring their loved one was shut down by a priest. The video going viral on social media, and tonight the family is giving their side of the story as they demand an apology.
I felt that he was truly out of order.
Singer and nephew of the deceased, David Storr, thought his uncle would have it his way at his funeral through the request of a special song. However, Storr says he was rudely interrupted by the priest of a West End church. Storr says the priest slapped him on his back, in which he thought that was a form of encouragement, until he heard the words, "Thank you, my brother."
Thank you, sir. We don't sing no one in church. It's God's way. It's God's way. All right?
Storr added that he is not new to the church and that he did not see anything wrong with the song, "My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
I am not new to church protocol. I've been in the church. Okay? I know what it is to reverence the house of God. I know what it is to reverence God. So if by any means I felt that the song was out of order, then I would have said something to my family.
Storr says that a list of songs are normally requested prior to funerals and weddings, adding that if the priest wanted the service ran in a certain way, that he should have done his due diligence.
This your house. You made it clear that's your house. But obviously, you didn't do what you had to do, because if you really was keeping order of your house, I would have never end up on there singing that song that you didn't approve of.
Days later, a video of the moment went viral across social media platforms, including TikTok and Facebook, where a shirt was made with the nephew's face and words, "My Way" on it. A TikTok video later also making its rounds of a young woman reenacting the moment. Son of the deceased, Donovan Garvey Sr., says the siblings wanted to ensure that there were no hiccups, and on that day, there was only one.
It took away from a lot of people because a lot of people didn't believe that he did that. You know, it was a form of disrespect to the family. He spoke as if he knew my father. He didn't know my father. They worked together for some time, but he didn't know him. If he knew him, he would not have interrupted that song. He would understand why he wanted that song to be sang. On numerous occasions over the years, he told me, "Whenever I pass, son, this is a song I want to be sang at my funeral."
The family is also confused at the priest's action because they said they sat with the priest prior to the funeral.
The congregation didn't respond to him for some time. So he went on rambling about, y'all acting like y'all dead. Only Garvey dead in this church. Only Garvey dead, which was disrespectful and distasteful. There is no need for that. What you got to show off and do all of these things for? You had this discussion with the family already.
Son Troy Garvey says family members remain disappointed as they have yet to hear anything from the priest, noting that they want an apology.
When he did that, the bleachers cleared, the benches were cleared basically out of the church. And he literally ran people. And to hear people saying that, "I ain't going to that church," I think Bishop Lachboy need to do something. The church and God is a God of order, not confusion. And he confused us that day, big time.
Now, our ZNS News team has contacted the Anglican priest, who said he wishes to give the family time to grieve and declined to further comment. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.